Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 4 topics for this video. Actually 3, but hey, make it 4. First one. The Americans and the Ukrainians will meet in Saudi Arabia to discuss what exactly? The peace process? Why not Washington DC? Why not the Oval Office? That's the first one. Second one. Trump threatens the Russians with new sanctions. What do you think would do the Russians? Nothing. The third one. Remember when the media operatives and politicians and others told you or told us that the Russians were implicated in the sabotages in the Baltic Sea, those communication cables? Well, now they found out nothing. So it was not the Russians. Maybe it was the Russians. All right, and the last topic is the Russians will call the Brits to give them back the money. You owe us our money that you gave to someone else illegally. So let's start with the first topic. The first topic comes from Russia Today. Ukraine-US meeting to take place in Saudi Arabia. Trump envoy. The sides will discuss a peace framework aimed at ending the conflict with Russia. American and Ukrainian negotiators are planning a meeting in Saudi Arabia. US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff told journalists on Thursday. You know who this guy is? Yeah, okay, it's a Zelensky style. They wormed themselves in. His statement comes after a public fallout between We are now in discussions to coordinate a meeting with the Ukrainians in Riyadh or potentially in Jeddah, Vitkov said. The idea is to get a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire as well. So, in a post on X, Zelensky said he would meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a Jew and an Arab, on Monday, after which, and I'm quoting, my team will stay in Saudi Arabia to work with our American partners. With another Jew, his name is Vitkov, right there. Don't believe me? Truth is truth. Go and see his Wikipedia page. Nothing wrong with that. Why aren't there Romanians, I wonder? According to Axios, the talks could take place on Wednesday and involve Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, as well as Zelensky's Chief of Staff, the Jewish Andriy Yermak. I don't think you get offended for me naming facts. They are celebrating that, so that's a good, they uncork champagne. So that's a fact. I just mentioned it. Is there any problem mentioning truth? All right. If you feel offended, you don't like truth. All right. So during the heat exchange, they discussed gambling on the World War III. Regrettable. Trump, Kremlin. Moscow is analyzing the news regarding the upcoming US-Ukraine meeting. Russia has called the resumption of bilateral contacts with the US as a positive. The Russia has blamed Kiev. So not that one, actually this one. So, do we know anything about it? Probably the Americans will tell the Ukrainians we want this, and that's it. And you're gonna give us that. And make it appear as if the Ukrainians are negotiating. But do you see, Yermak is negotiating. Now, question for those guys who are upset with me a little bit. If you are, take a number, get in line. Do you know Yermak's title? His position in the administration of the President of Ukraine? Do you know? Did you see who's coming at this meeting from the American side? It was Rubio and National Security, Mike Waltz. So National Security, that's a position. Advisor, that's a position in the US government. And then you have the Secretary of State, that is the foreign minister. Do you know who Yermak is? Yermak is the Ukraine's president's chief of the office. So he is like a chief of staff in America. Do you know who is the chief of staff of the presidential office in the United States of America, or in Germany, or in France, or in Great Britain, or in China, or wherever you might live? Do you know who that is? I don't even know right now. Why? That's not his job to show up over there and negotiate. It's the foreign ministers and advisors. You can say, well, Yermak is an advisor. That's not his title. Zelensky has his advisors, and Yermak is not, his title is not. But Yermak is Jewish. So is Zelensky, which is the president. So is Shmihal, the prime minister of the Ukrainian nation. Got that? You connect the dots. Everything I said is true. You might not like it, but that's reality. So Yermak, he used to be a film producer. Like Weinstein, like Harvey. Jewish as well. Just a coincidence. Now, let's go to the next one. In the meantime, we find out that, according to Russia Today, Trump threatens Russia with new sanctions. And I'm quoting, large-scale restrictions could affect the nation's banking sector as well as trade. The US president has said, didn't they impose like 15 rounds of sanctions with the Europeans, with all that? I think they have nothing. Maybe they scrape at the bottom of the barrel. That's all what it is. And remember, that affects us as well, like the tariffs. But hey, in this case, the media operatives celebrate. In the other case, no. Why? It's about the Russians and it's about Putin. Why? Because Putin kicked out or called those guys, hey, Yermak Stein, come over here. Hey, Shmihal Stein. Hey, Zelensky Stein. Or Abramovich's, come over here, I want to know how you make your first $1 million. And they said, oh, we're going to London to our masters. So they're not in charge anymore as they were most of the Soviet Union times. So they don't like that a bit. They had Soviet Union / Russia by the balls. Remember, it was the Russian Revolution orchestrated by the Russians in 1918, 1718, and it was the Bolshevik Revolution orchestrated by not many Russians. Lenin was not Russian. Stalin was not Russian. Trotsky was Mr. Bronstein. He was not Russian. And many others. All right? These are facts. You don't like it? Take a number and stay in line. So he's going to affect that. And now we find out that these guys were, some of them, exaggerating, and I'm being nice, using euphemisms here. Russia Today, NATO prosecutors failing to link Russia to cables cutting incidents. And it's according to Wall Street Journal, a respected Wall Street Journal. The investigation reportedly has not found any, that is zero, any proof that the 4 incidents in the Baltic Sea were deliberate sabotage. Any. Now, when I used to work in the investigation department, and, I had a case and I investigated, I reached a conclusion, I wrote a disposition, and it was this and that. The conclusion, I've been told in the training, and it was accurate, you very rarely, you write no evidence. You might say the evidence don't support the allegations. Or, that's some evidence, but not enough to prove. So why? Because it's always something, but if you say any, zero, nothing. Now, this is written by the Russians, it's a Russia Today article. But just so you know, is nothing? Really? Okay, how could that be from about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, whenever this happened, 2 months ago, in January, December? How come from then, in February, until now, beginning, they had evidence that they dragged they dragged on the bottom of the sea, the Baltic Sea, their anchor, and they destroyed those. From that evidence to nothing? I would like to know who lost his or her job. Anybody? Politicians, media operatives, anything? Anybody was sanctioned? I don't know, 10% of their income for the next 50 years. Because of the lie. Anybody? Anybody in Europe talks about fake news? Or only Russia Today, Sputnik, and Pravda are the fake news here? Well, if there's no consequences, they will do it again. And they will do it again. Next one. Let's see how the Russians ask for UK to give money back. Here. UK will return Russian money. It is so generously giving away. Moscow. Russia today again. Transferring Russia's sovereign assets to Kiev is a gross violation of international law. State Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin has said. I agree with that. So, yeah, that's why they are so, generous with other people's money. So, the UK transferred proceeds of Russia's frozen central bank funds to Ukraine is a blatant violation of international law. This guy said. On Friday, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, the Jewish Denis Shmyhal, but he's Ukrainian, as you can see. He's the Prime Minister of the Ukrainian nation. They didn't find a Ukrainian. Said that Kiev had received a first tranche worth of $1 billion from the UK, secured by proceeds from the Russian assets. I told you, UK is Russia's enemy. Plain and simple. He said the funds would go towards strengthening Ukrainian defense. That means feeding the military-industrial complex of the Westerners, and voiced hope that all frozen Russian assets would be confiscated and transferred to Kiev. And the speakers, speaking to reporters later that day, Volodin said Britain, and I'm quoting, will have to give back to Russia what they are now so generously giving away, adding that Moscow has every reason to respond in kind. Why don't you pick your own thing? Why don't you respond differently? I mean, you know what I mean? Why do you have to respond in kind? Remember, when these guys say, oh, your response is not proportionate. So let's say I'm just here minding my business. And someone comes and interrupts me and flickers me over my nose. Boom. All right. So to begin with, the state was I'm minding my business and not affecting you. You have your own thing. And you come to me and you disrupt the equilibrium. You smack me. And because I see that, I bam, 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 punch you in the face 3 times and let you down, broken nose and bloody and knocked out. Because I'm strong. It goes without saying. And then people, oh my God, Emil, was it necessary? Yep. I consider it very necessary. It was disproportionate. Let's go back to the beginning. What was the first frame of the circumstances? I was minding my thing, and he came to me. So he upped it with that. First, interrupting me my dreams, and then the second one, flickering me. So from 0, that it was our connection at the beginning, you picked it here. Why do I need to meet you over there? Why didn't you meet me here to start with? So you got here, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to make you understand through direct experience that you'll never do this again. So this is what the in kind. I don't want in kind, because when those guys, took illegally the Russian assets, they froze the assets, it was nothing. They did it here. Why do you want to meet it? No, you go further than that. How can you go? I mean, use this finger and there's some buttons over there. Click, 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 clack, 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 clack. That means make a phone call. You got that? And if you think that I'm using only Russia Today, right here, Reuters. These are telling you the truth always and forever. Putin ally says UK will have to return Russia's money that London has, quote-unquote, illegally gifted to Ukraine. I think it's illegal, and that's it. That means other countries would have had the same right to freeze all the countries involved in bombarding Yugoslavia in 1999. That means everybody else had the same right to freeze and use the receipts to support Saddam Hussein for the illegal invasion and bombardment of evil Saddam Hussein, but that's their evil, not our evil. We should take care of our evil as they take care of their evil. And if they decide not to, that's their business, like in a family. If that's the way they run their business over there, who am I to go over there? Because if I am the one going over there, that means someone else can come to my family and pick me up and destroy our equilibrium in the family. So yes, that means I use Libya, I can use Syria, I can use many other countries where the forces of the self-identified good did bombarded and destroyed a lot of nations, I would say. I mean, you can go with Yugoslavia, Iraq, Serbia. They got Kosovo, please. I mean, Serbia, you got Iraq, you got Afghanistan, you got Libya, you got Syria, and the list will go on. Okay, in the Middle East, do I need to mention those guys? Yes, thank you very much for being with me again today, my friends. I don't know what's going to happen here in Saudi Arabia. I think the Americans will get everything and will talk and tell that baboon Yermak Stein back the off. But he's the one negotiating for the Ukrainian nation. Can you believe that? Not one of your family members. No, it's someone who came here and they now. Why? Because of his connections with the international trapa. Emil, be nice. I'm not gonna be nice. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.